He's one of the most famous and, let's be honest, controversial figures of our time. But to really, truly understand Elon Musk, we have to look past the headlines and dig into the very roots of his genius. Okay, let's just dive right in. When we think of Elon Musk, we think rockets, we think electric cars. But what if his greatest innovations weren't made of metal at all? What if they were mental? What if the real key to his genius was forged not in some high-tech lab, but in a failure he could never escape? So if you really want to get a handle on the guy who's dead set on taking us to Mars, we can't start with SpaceX. No, we have to go way back to a brutal playground in South Africa, because the key to his genius, that relentless drive, it was forged in pain. This is where we start to build Musk's creative family tree. And the trunk of that tree, it all starts right here, with a young Elon who grew up in an environment that was, frankly, almost unbelievably harsh. And the main source of this pressure cooker of a childhood? Well, it was his own father, Elon Musk. In Elon's own words, the man put him through unimaginable mental anguish, and that created a wound that would pretty much define his entire life. And this is where it gets really intense. Check this out. He was sent to something called Veldschool, a survival camp his own brother called a paramilitary Lord of the Flies, a place where bullying was basically a virtue. At school, things weren't much better. He was beaten so badly he ended up in the hospital, his face just a swollen mass. But when he got home, and this is the real kicker, his father sided with the bullies, berated him for an hour, called him an idiot. For a kid, that isn't just physical pain, that's the ultimate betrayal. But here's the thing. Our family tree, right? It isn't just about the wounds we inherit. It's also about the legends we choose to follow, the ancestors of our ideas. And this is where that choice becomes crystal clear. So on one side of his family tree, you've got these dark, thorny roots from his father's trauma. But on the other side, you have the bright, adventurous legacy of his maternal grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, a man who could not have been more different. Seriously? This guy was like a real-life Indiana Jones. He lost his farm in the Great Depression, so what does he do? Becomes a rodeo performer, of course. Then he decides, on a whim, to move his whole family from Canada to South Africa. So he just takes his plane apart, ships it over, and puts it all back together. Every single year, he'd pack up his family to go hunt for a mythical lost city in the desert. This was the spirit of adventure, the DNA of risk that Elon chose to inherit. So how do you survive a childhood like that? How do you possibly endure that much pain? Well, you build armor. And that armor, it became this unique psychological toolkit, forged in the fires of his youth. To deal with that constant barrage of threats, Musk developed a set of mental tools. His first wife, Justine, she said he basically had to numb himself to his own emotions just to be able to function. And the artist Grimes, the mother of 3 of his kids, she noticed that he seemed conditioned to believe that life is pain. This created an inhumanly high tolerance for pain and this is crucial, an addiction to crisis. He doesn't just put up with chaos. A lot of the time, he creates it, setting these insane deadlines that force people to have breakthroughs. There's this quote that just perfectly captures Musk's whole mindset. Most of us, we look for stability, for peace. But Musk seems to draw his energy from the hurricane. His brother Kimball even calls him a drama magnet, saying it's the driving theme of his life. And when that storm is at its absolute peak, the people closest to him say he enters what they call demon mode. It's this state of intense, dark focus, a direct echo of his father's Jekyll and Hyde personality. But here's the difference. Where his father's darkness was destructive, Musk has repurposed that same intensity. He channels it into solving engineering problems. It's how he pushed through Tesla's production hell with this relentless, almost manic drive that burnt people out, yeah, but ultimately saved the company. Okay, so here's the really crucial part. This psychological armor, this demon mode, this need for chaos, it wasn't just for survival. It became the very engine for his world-changing ambitions. Think about it. When you're conditioned to believe that life is just pain anyway, what's failure? It doesn't seem so scary. His comfort with risk is completely off the charts. It's what allowed him, back in 2008, after 3 SpaceX rockets had already blown up, to bet his entire personal fortune on the 4th launch and on keeping Tesla alive. Any sane person would have just walked away. He doubled down. Why? Because for him, the psychological pain of giving up was way worse than the financial pain of losing everything. But what about the why? Why this obsessive, all-consuming drive for Mars? It wasn't just about risk, and it definitely wasn't about money. As a lonely teenager really grappling with his harsh reality, he fell into this deep existential depression, just trying to figure out what the point of it all was. So he just started devouring books on philosophy and science fiction, searching for a purpose in a world that felt completely meaningless and cruel. He read Nietzsche, he read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and after all that reading, he came to a pretty stark conclusion. And this is where his logic really clicks into place. If life has no built-in meaning, then it's up to us to create one. His mission, to expand the scope and scale of consciousness by making humanity a multi-planetary species, is a direct, almost desperate answer to that profound meaninglessness he felt as a tormented kid. For him, going to Mars isn't just an engineering problem, it's the answer to an existential crisis. So what does this all mean for us? Well, Musk's story shows that our creative DNA is this powerful mix. It's made of the wounds we're giving for sure, but it's also made of the heroes and the ideas we choose to follow. This is the core idea right here. Look, you can't change your past. You can't just erase the pain. But you absolutely can choose your influences. You can decide what your struggles are going to build. You get to pick your own creative ancestors. So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. What failures have forged you? Who are the adventurers, the mentors, the thinkers, the Joshua Haldemans in your life that you choose to add to your own tree? So go on, start building your own genealogy of ideas today. Let us know in the comments who you'd add to your tree. And if you want to dive deeper into this full concept, definitely check out the full audio version. Now go find your adventurers.